Your phone lights up at 2:17 a.m. You weren't asleep, you haven't really been sleeping for a while, but you still pretend you were, just so it doesn't look like you've been waiting. It's them. A message, finally. You don't open it right away. You just stare at the notification. Like it might disappear if you move too fast. Like this moment, this small, fragile moment, is the only thing that's felt real in days. Then you tap. Hey, sorry, I've been busy. That's it. No explanation, no follow-up, no question. Just enough to remind you they exist. Not enough to feel like they're actually there. You keep staring at the screen longer than you should. Your mind starts filling in the gaps for them. Busy with what? Work? Something serious? Maybe something happened. You don't want to assume the worst. You don't want to look like you care more than you should. So you type something casual. No worries. You delete it. Too eager. You try again. Hope everything's okay. Delete. Too exposed. Now you're sitting there, rewriting a 2-word reply like it decides how you're seen, like it decides where you stand, because right now, it kind of does. You send something neutral, controlled, safe, and then nothing. No typing bubble, no correction, no second thought from them. The conversation just stops in your hands. And somehow, this feels worse than silence, because now you're back inside it. Not outside, wondering. Inside, waiting. This is where it begins. You replay everything. The last conversation, the last time they felt present, the exact moment something shifted. At first, it was easy. They were quick, curious, engaged. They asked questions like they actually wanted answers. You didn't have to think this much. You didn't have to measure yourself. It just moved. Then something tightened. Not obvious. That's what makes it hard to catch. Replies got shorter. Pauses stretched longer. And something subtle slipped under the surface. You felt it before you admitted it. A message that wasn't wrong, just lighter. Like less of them was in it. This is where it turns. You adjusted. Not in a way anyone would notice. That's the part that traps you. You reread your messages. You cut pieces out before sending. You started matching their tone, their distance, their effort. You stopped asking certain things. Stopped saying certain things. Not because you wanted to, because you felt it slipping. And you thought if you got it right, you could bring it back. But something changed. You weren't expressing anymore. You were calibrating. Here's what's easy to miss. They didn't disappear. They reduced access. Less attention, less clarity, less presence, and the less they gave, the more your mind reorganized around them. You started tracking things you never tracked before. Response time, tone shifts, small changes in energy. You started waiting, and waiting does something to you. It changes your position without asking you. Now it's not two people meeting naturally. It's one person holding the connection together, while the other slowly steps out of it. Quietly, no announcement, no explanation, just less. Ghosting doesn't begin when they stop replying. It begins earlier, in the imbalance. When one person pulls back just enough to create uncertainty, and the other person fills the space automatically. You call it patience, understanding, being chill. But look closer. You're adjusting your standards to maintain access, accepting less than what you started with, less effort, less clarity, less consistency, because losing them feels heavier than not understanding them. And that uncertainty, it's not harmless. It keeps you engaged. This is where it hooks you. A clear rejection would hurt, but it would end. Clear interest would stabilize everything. But this middle space, it keeps running in your head, replaying, reframing, reanalyzing. Your brain doesn't tolerate unfinished patterns, so it tries to close them. It creates meaning. Maybe they're just busy. Maybe something's going on. Maybe I pushed too much. Every explanation keeps the connection alive, even if the connection itself isn't. You're not holding on to them. You're holding on to resolution. And this is where it shifts again. Your behavior stops being natural. It becomes calculated, not intentionally. But you start editing yourself in real time. You hesitate, then overcorrect. You try to land somewhere safe, more easy, more likable, less risky, whatever version feels hardest to reject. It doesn't look like desperation. That's why it's dangerous. It looks like inconsistency. And inconsistency breaks attraction faster than distance ever will. You think they're ghosting you because they lost interest. Sometimes that's true, but sometimes they're reacting to something they can't explain. Something feels different, less grounded, less natural. So they step back even more, not to hurt you, just to get away from that shift. And here's the part people don't say out loud. Your reaction to their distance can speed up their exit. You feel the change. It's subtle, doesn't scream, just fades. And instead of stepping back, you lean in, slightly. You respond faster. You give more. You make it easier for them to stay, not because you're weak, because your brain is trying to restore what existed before. But that version is already gone. The beginning wasn't effort. It was mutual curiosity. And once that breaks on one side, effort doesn't rebuild it. It replaces it with pressure, with maintenance. It stopped being connection. It became something you had to manage. So the conversation doesn't move forward. It stretches thinner. Fewer words, longer gaps, less meaning. Until one day, there's nothing left to respond to. No ending, no conflict, just absence. And you're left holding something that already let go of you. And this is why it stays. You don't feel rejected. You feel unfinished. Because nothing clearly ended, no clean break, no defined moment. So your mind keeps it open. You go back, read old messages, look for the exact point it changed. Because if you can find it, maybe you can fix it. But that moment doesn't exist the way you think. Just small shifts, small adjustments, small compromises you made that slowly moved you out of position. It didn't end in silence. It ended in subtle changes you ignored, moments where something felt off, and you chose to adjust instead of step back. Points where the energy stopped matching, and you tried to carry both sides anyway. You didn't lose them all at once. You lost your position piece by piece. Ghosting isn't just about them disappearing. It's about what happens to you before they do. How you start trading parts of your natural behavior for a chance to keep access. How you become easier to stay with while they become harder to reach. That imbalance doesn't announce itself. It conditions you, quietly. And that's why it stays. Not just because they left, but because somewhere in that process, you stopped being chosen naturally and started trying to remain an option. That shift doesn't feel obvious, but you feel it. So next time, don't focus on the silence. Focus on the shift. The moment you start thinking more than feeling, editing more than expressing, waiting more than living, that's where it changes. Not all at once, just enough. And if you ignore it, you'll already be reacting by the time you think you're choosing.